Hello and welcome back to the Client Success Series. I'm Jason Valentine, the qualifying broker at Coldwell Banker High Desert Realty, and one of the goals of this series is to remove uncertainty by helping you understand exactly what's happening during your transaction and why each step is important. Last time we talked about what it means to be under contract and how your accepted agreement is really the beginning of the journey, not the end. Today, we're going to discuss one of the most misunderstood parts of the entire transaction, and that is earnest money. Many people think it's simply a deposit, but in reality, it serves a much more important purpose, and understanding how it works can give both buyers and sellers greater confidence as they move forward. So in today's play, we want to understand what the earnest money is, why it's important, and how it protects everybody involved. The words earnest money can sound a little old-fashioned, but the concept is actually very simple. It's a way for the buyer to demonstrate that they're serious about purchasing the property, and it's kind of a good faith commitment. It's not a fee, and it's not extra money. It's certainly not going to be automatically lost if something unexpected happens. So let's talk about how it actually works. One of the first questions I hear from buyers is, what happens to my earnest money? From sellers, I often hear, does that mean the buyer is committed? The answer to both questions is yes, but some important details need to be brought to light. Earnest money is designed to protect both parties. For the seller, it demonstrates that the buyer is making a sincere commitment to the purchase. For the buyer, it becomes part of the safeguards built in the purchase agreement. Understanding those protections is important because it helps everyone move forward with confidence. So once the contract has been accepted, the buyer delivers the earnest money according to the terms of the purchase agreement. Rather than going directly to the seller or to the brokerage, those funds are typically held by a neutral third party, usually the title company. That money remains safely in escrow while the transaction progresses. If everything goes according to plan, the earnest money isn't an additional cost. Instead, it's credited towards the buyer at purchasing the property at closing. In other words, it's money that's already working towards the purchase of the home. Now, what if something goes wrong? Well, this is where many people become nervous. The good news is the purchase agreement contains protections for both buyers and sellers. There are certain situations where a buyer may have the right to terminate the contract and receive their earnest money back. Examples may include issues discovered during inspections, financing contingencies, appraisal concerns, or other contractual provisions, provided those situations are handled according to timelines and requirements outlined in the purchase agreement. On the other hand, if a buyer simply changes their mind outside of those agreed upon protections, the earnest money may become part of the discussion regarding default under the contract. Every situation is different, which is why it's so important to communicate early and often if concerns arise. Fortunately, most transactions never reach that point. Our goal is to always identify potential issues early and work towards practical solutions whenever possible. Now, if you're a buyer, earnest money demonstrates your commitment while also giving you important contractual protections during the due diligence period. If you're the seller, earnest money provides reassurance that the buyer has made a meaningful commitment to the transaction. And although buyers and sellers view earnest money from different perspectives, both are working towards the same objective, and that is a successful closing. So here's some of my advice from today's episode. Don't think of the earnest money as something to worry about. Think of it as part of the framework that allows real estate transactions to move forward fairly. One of the biggest mistakes I see is when clients rely on advice from friends, family, or informative online searches that they do. Every contract is unique and every situation is unique. If you ever have questions about your earnest money, your deadlines, or your rights under the purchase agreement, don't guess. Call Coldwell Banker High Desert Realty. I'd much rather answer your questions early and help you fix misunderstandings later. So, while your earnest money is being deposited and held in escrow, I'll continue coordinating many of the moving pieces of your transaction. I'll be monitoring deadlines, working closely with the title company, communicating with your lender, and coordinating with the other brokerage, helping you schedule inspections, and making sure everyone involved continues moving towards a successful closing. My job is to keep the process organized, proactive, and as predictable as possible. So in our next episode of the Client Success Series, we're talking about one of the most important milestones in the transaction, and that's going to be the home inspection. We'll discuss what happens at a home inspection, what inspectors are really looking for, and how inspection reports should be interpreted. For many people, inspections can feel incredibly intimidating. My goal is to help you understand the process so you can approach it with confidence instead of uncertainty. So, in closing, I want to thank you for watching episode 2 of the Client Success Series. Remember, the purpose of this series is to help you understand not just what happens during the real estate transaction, but also why it happens. An informed client is a confident client. And of course, if you have any questions after watching today's episode, don't guess, give us a call. I'd rather spend 5 minutes answering your questions than spend 5 hours about you worrying about something that turns out to be completely normal. Thank you again for trusting us to guide you through this process. I'll see you on the next episode of the Client Success Series.